Good morning, Internet. This is Alex does Sudokus, and it is Monday, the 28th of September 2020, and we have another medium New York Times Sudoku for you today. And let's dive right in. And I think today's a normal day, so let's have a look. We're just going to do some Snyder notations whereby we pencil mark in and we follow the numbers basically starting from 1 to 9. We're going to look into the cages, with cages being a grid of 9 cells. So for instance, we're going to follow the ones, look into the cages and see where ones can be in any of the cages. And when we have two candidates, like in here and these two cages, we'll pencil mark them in. If there are more than two candidates, we're not going to pencil mark them in under the guidance of Snyder notations. So with that, all the ones are already done. So twos, we can't pencil mark in anything because, oh no, hold on. We can pencil mark in this cage because this 2 locks only a pair of 2s down there. So these 2s, whenever your pencil markings line up, they form what's called a pointed pair. And if you've got 3 of them, then there'll be a pointed triple. But the pointed pairs have a property of locking that number within that dimension. So in this case, a column. Well, in this column, the 2 has to be in these 2 cells now within this cage, because in this cage, the 2 has to be in one of these 2 cells. So outside the cage, we can't possibly have a 2 as well, because that will force 2 separate 2s in the same column. So we use that to actually rule out any additional cells. So using that, we can rule out these 2 cells, and along with that 2, we can rule out that cell. So we actually have a pair of 2s down there as well. So that's what pointed pairs are useful for. But that's all I can do with the 2s. So let's look at the 3s. Well, these 2 3s look into all of these cells. So it actually immediately locks a 3 in there. And this is the advantage of Snyder notation. We just erased a pencil marking, and immediately we know that this cell has to be a 1, because we had previously 2 possible candidates for the 1 in this cage. We just erased 1, so the other one must be true. So this is why we do Snyder notations, because it's quite clean and easy to give you positions, basically. So actually, just gonna, so these 2 3s also locks a pair of 3s in this cage, because it blocks out these 6 cells. But I've got a 3 down here as well, so it also locks, oops, it locks a 3 in there as well, so that's useful. And now these 2 3s locks a pair of 3s up there, but it also sees a 3, so on the rows. So we've got another 3 locked down. Pardon me, I've got a blocked nose this morning. So apologies for the disgusting noises. But these 2 3s, along with these 3s, rules out these rows and the columns as well. So I have another 3 locked in here. These 2 3s and that 3 locks the final 3 here. So that's all the 3s done. So that's quite a good start. Let's move on to 4s. We've only got a single 4, so we can just quickly scan up and down with the 4 and can't see anything. So we're going to move on to 5s. So 5s, we've only got 2 5s, so we only have to look at the cages that they interact with and the cages in between, and we can't see any cages with just 2 candidates. So we're going to move on to 6s as well. So 6s, again, we can't unlock any 6s, so I'm just going to blow my nose again. Apologies. Oh, this is really frustrating. Just really hate the mornings when my nose just won't behave. So let's look at 7s now. So this 7 locks a pair of 7s over there. So that is really useful, because Now the 2s and 7s share the same 2 cells, and what that means is if a 2 goes here, the 7 has to go in the other cell, and if the 7 goes in the other cell, 2 has to go in this cell. So that means these 2 cells basically can't contain anything else, and also the 2s and 7s can't be in any other cells within the column as well, because they line up that way, because we've basically got a pointed pair of 2s and 7s. But the key thing we want to look at is the fact that no other numbers can go in these 2 cells. So that means these 3 cells have to contain the remaining digits in this cage. And with that, we can tell that these 2 cells are 8 because the 8 sees into that cell. But 8s can't go in these 2 cells either, so they form another pointed pair. What else am I missing? I'm missing 4s and 5s as well. So this is a bit I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but I just wanted to show you something. Normally I wouldn't pencil mark in numbers where I have more than 2 candidates off, but at the same time the rule is kind of like a guideline basically. So it is useful when there's only a triple left, when there are 3 numbers left within a cage, to pencil mark them in, especially in this instance where they're lined up on a row as well, because again these are now pointed triples, so it means these 2 cells outside of the cage on a row cannot be 4s, 5s or 8s. So that means I've only got 2 numbers available in these 2 cells. So if I quickly work out what it is, it's a 9 and a 6. Unfortunately in this case I can't resolve what they are, because I was hoping that can be resolved and then we can actually place the numbers, but we can't in the moment, so we'll just leave the cage as it is and stay on the 7s and see if we can find anything else. So 7s with the pointed pair of 7s actually locks a 7 up here because of this 7 taking the row. So this 7 sees these 3 cells, that 7 sees those 2 cells as well, and the pointed pair of 7 also locks these 2 cells, so therefore 7 has to go in there. So now these 2 7s along with that 7 locks a pair of 7s over here. Can we do anything else? Nope, that's all the 7s we can place. So let's look at 8 now. So this is where the pencil markings of 8 may be quite useful here, because even though I've only got 1 8 down here, in theory I've only got these well, in theory, if I didn't have the pencil markings, I would think 8s can go in these 5 cells, but these triple actually locks that cell. But more importantly, if I look at this cage, 8s can't go in here, so 8 also forms a pointed triple, so that blocks these 3 cells as well. So in essence, I've blocked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells with just the pencil markings, so the 8s actually live in here. And let's see if I can do anything else with the 8. Nope, I can't. So let's look at the 9s. Pardon me. These 2 9s locks a 9 over here. So that forces a 2 into this cell because I've just erased the second candidate for 2. So now this 2 and the pointed pair of 2s locks down all 6 cells over here because the 2 columns are now taken. So now 2 has to go here. So I can either, I've got options now. I can either look at the 2s or I can actually look at this column, because I've now got 2 cells left on this column, and I know that based on the pencil markings, providing they're correct, providing I haven't missed out any pencil markings, then it's cleaning up. These 2 cells have to be 4s and 5s because I've got 4 and 5 pencil marking, and if it's valid, then I have to stretch across the column as well. And sure enough, I'm missing 4 and 5 there because I've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So if these 2 cells are 4 and 5, and I've got a 5 seeing into that cell, that means I can resolve them as 4 and 5. So these cells can't be 5s anymore within the cage. So that's slightly useful. But let's continue on and continue looking at the 9s. So this 9 locks these 2 cells. So I've got a pair of 9s up here. I think that's all the pencil markings I can do. So I really apologise for all the nose blowing. Yeah, just really banged up this morning for some reason. So now that we've gone through the numbers 1 to 9 and kind of placing as many pencil markings as we can go around again and do a second round, because when we place the pencil markings in, we place them based on what numbers are available. But the thing is, as we were placing pencil markings in, the grid itself changes. So now, if we go around from 1 to 9 again, there's a good chance that we can actually find new pencil markings that we can place, because the nature of the grid has changed. But before we do, what I personally like to do is always having a look around the grid to see if there are any obvious things that I can resolve, or like obvious pencil markings or obvious deductions that I can make. So one of which is looking at weak areas, basically. So weak areas are any areas where, for instance, on the rows, on the columns, I don't really have examples for columns here, and cages, where you only have 2 or 3 cells remaining. So in this cage, I've only got 2 cells left. In this row, I've got 3. And if there are columns that only has 2 or 3 cells left, then I'll consider them weak as well and have a play. Whilst this 4-8 pair means this cell is technically out of play, the kind of can make you think that you've got kind of like a 3 cells weak area there, but actually the 4 and 8 are still playable in the remaining cells. So even though 2 of the numbers can't go in here, 2 out of the 4 numbers can't go in here, we still have 4 cells technically playable, because we've got 4 numbers that are still playable. Whereas if I've got a 4-8 pair lined it up like on the row, then they're no longer in play, and that forms a pair of 2s. Basically, that's a weak area of 2. I hope that makes sense, but again, please leave a comment below if my explanations aren't really that useful, and I can try and improve them. So anyway, let's look at these 2 cells, where they have to be 1s or 5s. So is that useful for us? Kind of. So if the 1s are here, they form a pointed pair of 1s, and along with that one forces a pair of 1s over here. And if we look at the 5s, we've got the same situation, pointed pair of 5s, and a 5 over here locks a pair of 5s over there. So I now know that this column is obviously 1, 5, 4 and 8. So maybe worth just having a quick look. So I haven't got any numbers that I can resolve here, because I'll be looking at 4 and 8. They can both, 4 and 8 can go in these 2 cells, and the 4 can go in there as well. So there aren't any single digits left for me to resolve, basically. So let's look at another weak. Oh no, actually, these 1 and 5s, I can actually resolve it because of this 5 anyway. So let's resolve it as 1 and 5. So this one unlocks a 1 over here as well. So they in turn go back here, these 2 1s, and that 1 over there resolves a 1 down here. And now these 2 1s, along with that 1, locks a pair of 1s pencil marking up there. So that's what's actually happening. So now this 5, these 2 5s locks a pair of 5s over here. And I think that's all the interactions we've got based on the 1 and 5s. So the next thing we can look at are these 2 cells, because we've just unlocked another weak area, basically. So let's see, they have to be 6 and 8. So again, I can't see any 6 or 8 in these columns or cages, so I can't resolve them just yet. So, but what we have done is also unlocked a weak area of 3 cells down here. So what are they? They are 4s, 6, and 4, 6, and 7. So I've only got 7 that's visible. In other words, we can't resolve this at all. So these are still 6 and 9s. Again, not resolvable. So we've run out of weak areas to look at now. So now is probably time to just do some more pencil markings in, basically. So, pardon me. Whilst I was scanning, I did notice that these two 8s looks into the cage here. So I could pencil mark in the 8. And also, I've got a pencil marking of 7s over here because of this 7 and that 7. So that's useful because these 7s are now locked in here. So it just gives us another kind of pencil marking to play with. So these are fairly done. So maybe worth looking at the remaining numbers anyway. So I've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and 6 are not pencil marked in. So 6 C's into... leaves me 3 possible candidates, so that's not useful. But whilst I was looking at that, I noticed a 6 looking over there also locks a pair of 6s over here. And that's really useful because if these are pointed 6s, well, first of all, it creates another pair of 6s over here. And that locks a 6 over there. But the other way of looking at it is these two cells were 6 and 9s, and I've just ruled out 6 in this cell, so this has to be a 9. But the other thing that I've done is using the pointed pair of 6s and that 6, I've also locked a 6 over there as well. So there are 2 ways I could have resolved the 6 and 9. And so let's stay on the 6s and see if we can do anything else. So now this 6 and that 6 locks a pair of 6s over here. So it feels like this must be a 4 now because I've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 all pencil marked in. And I've got blank cell. And when you've got a single blank cell left and a single number that's not been pencil marked in a cage, it has to be the correct digit. So there's not even any point of me pencil marking in the 4 in here. So with the 4 being there, this must be a 7 or 6, but we can't resolve that just yet. So, but does the 4 do anything else for us? It does. It locks a pair of 4s over here because of these 4s and that 4. So that 4 and this 4 also locks a pair of 4s over here. So we're just like building up more pencil markings by just going around and following the trail of the numbers, basically. So these cages are also, when the numbers are laid out like this, sometimes it's quite useful because if any numbers sees into the column or the rows, it means they have to be pushed into the remaining 2 cells, basically. So if a number sees into this column, they're locked as a pointer pair. If a number sees into this row, it forms a pointer pair as well. So whenever you kind of have 2 pairs of cells kind of locked in, either it can be in a square formation or it can be in 2 separate rectangles. They still tend to be quite interesting, basically. But in this case, the only thing it's done is formed the pointed pair of 6s with that 6. I've got nothing looking into this column that isn't already in the cage. I've got 1, 3, and 9, and I've already got 1, 3, and 9 within the cage, so not much going on. Now here, I've got a triple. I've got 3 cells locked in the cage, so this is a weak area, so I might as well pencil mark them in. So I've got 5s, and this 5 rules out a 5 from there, and 8. So again, I'm going to break my rule of Snyder notation with just 2 pencil markings, because now I've ruled out these 3 numbers from these cells. So let's just quickly look over here and see if we can actually deduce anything. So based on the pencil markings, I've got 2, 4, and 7 in these 4 cells. I need 1 more number, and it's a 9. So let's look at this cell because it's blank. Can I see 2, 4, and 7? I can see 4, I can see 7, but I can't see a 2. So this cell can be a 2 or a 9. So that's not really useful. We can't resolve it just yet. So as what I consider a dead end. But I think I've kind of tackled all the weak areas now. So now is probably time to do another round of Snyder notations. Just going around the board from 1 to 9 and just seeing what pencil markings I can fill in. So now I notice there's a pair of 2s there because of these 2s, and that's useful because that created a 2, 4 pair. So rather than going through 1 to 9 just continuously, whenever I see something that's interesting, I am going to have a look at it. So I've developed a triple here of 5, 7 and 8. Can that be resolved? No, it can't. But I also have another triple here, which is 6, 8 and 7. So actually 7s are locked in these two cells because of that 7, and that's well, just that 7 because the 2 and 4 are out of play anyway. The 8s are locked in these two cells because of that 8's there, and again 2 and 4 are out of play now. So I've done all the pencil markings in all the cages at the bottom and these two cages, so we're doing quite well. But we haven't kind of like come out of this with any revelations, so let's just carry on with the pencil markings. So let's stay on the 2s. Can I get any more pencil markings? Not for 2, so what about 3s? 3s are all done anyway, so 4s. Nothing on 4s. 5s. 5. Right, so I've got pointed pair of 5s over here, locking this row and that 5, so I do have a pair of 5s over here. And now I'm kind of wondering if I've got anything, if I've got a single digit left in this cell because it's blank. Because as you build up the board, sometimes it's worth looking at the blank cells. So I can see a 1, I can't see a 2, so that's at least a 2 and 9 because I know the 9 are in these 3 cells. Actually, the 9s are in these 2 cells. That's my quick discovery. So I actually need to pop to the loo, so I'm going to pause the game and come back in a bit, and I will edit this, I suppose, later. And I'm back. Apologies for that. So, where were we? I have no idea now. So, I'm going to pick a random number, 5. How are we on 5s? I don't think we've got any more 5s, so let's see, 6s maybe? 6. Actually, I think, yeah, maybe I just did 5s. So yeah, I think 5 is the right number. So 6s. I've got 6s up there. 7. I wonder if today's puzzle is actually a bit on the difficult side, actually. Because I can't see anything obvious going on. 6s, 7s, 8s. Nothing's really jumping out at me. So 9s. Yeah, so it feels like it's a difficult puzzle today. So let's look at this cage for a second, because I think we need to gradually build our way up to the top cages, maybe. So 2s are locked in these cells. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, oh, actually, so this is interesting. I've got 5 and 8 in these 2 cells, and oh, but actually they're not guaranteed to be the only candidates, so I need to be careful here. So even though I've got 5 and 8, I've not done all the pencil markings in. I've done all the pencil markings in this cage, but I haven't done that for this cage. So I have, although actually if you look at it, 5 and 8 can't be in this cell because I've got 5 and 8 up here. So these 2 5 and 8s must be valid. So that means I've got 2 and 9 in these 2 cells, which doesn't actually help me at all, to be honest. Because that just gives me 2 and 9. Now, let's think about this. If that's a 2 and 9, what is in this cell? I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see a 5. 6. And I've got a pointed pair of 7s, 8 and 9. So this is actually a naked 5. Because you can already see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Pointed pair of 7s, 8 and 9. So that is useful because that means that can't be a 5 anymore. So that's an 8. So this can't be an 8 anymore. In fact, that can't be a 5. So this must be a 5. This must be an 8, which removes the 6. and that resolves the 7 as well. So suddenly there's a chain reaction going on here. So this 6 removes the 6 over here, forcing the 6 up there. That just removed an 8, so 8 is over there. That removed a 7, so 7 is here. And that 8 also unlocks the 8 over there. And this 7 unlocks the 7 up here, removed a 1. So that 1 unlocks another 1 and a 5. So getting a bit of progress now. So if I stay on this 5 for a second, looking at over here, I've got 2 5s locked down, but I've also got a 5 down here. So this must be a 5 as well. So I think I'm quite close to doing all the 5s. So there's just 1 left. What am I missing? Yes, the 5 in here. So 5 has to go there. So now I've got 6 and 8 in these 2 cells. And that can't be a 6 anymore because of that 6. So 8 and 6 are resolved. So these 2 6s also pushes a 6 up here. So now that 6 locks a pair of 6 over here. But I've already got a 6 down there. So 6 is actually over here. And that 6 and that 6, along with this 6, locks a 6 down here. So all the 6s are done as well. So we're making progress now. Suppose I can look at this cell, because on this column we've got 2 and 4 left. And 2 sees into that cell, so that has to be the 4, which means this is 2, this is 4. And now that means I've got 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. 9 can go anywhere in this cage, so let's just pencil mark them all in. So that's interesting, because this is a 2 and 9, but I know that's a 2 and 9 as well. So that means this cell can't be a 2 or 9, it must be a 4. So that's a slight leap of logic, but I know that in this column I've only got 2 and 9s remaining, so that forms a pair. And remember, no other numbers can go in these 2 cells, so I've only got 1 number left on this row, so that's why I can determine that's the 4, even though I didn't actually pencil mark in the 2 over there early on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm left with 8 and 9. Well, I've got 9 here seeing into this cell, so 8 and 9 can be resolved. So this 9 cleans up these 9 pencil markings, so it tells me the 9 is over here, 9 is over there, 4 is over there, and 7 is over here. I didn't remove the pencil marking for 8 earlier, so that's why there was 7 and 8. But this now has to be a 2, so 2 and 7s are resolved. This 4 resolves the 8 and the 4 down there. This 9 resolves the 2, the 9 and the 8. And finally we have, what have we got? We have a 4 and we have a 2 over there. And that's how we solve today's medium New York Times Sudoku. I hope I didn't over-explain too much, but I still hope that's been helpful. And please leave a like or subscribe if you find that video useful. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow. Bye!